It's Ryan. It's Shane. It's FlamesNation Radio, delivered to you as always by DoorDash and presented by Eau Claire Distillery's Rupert's Whiskey, the official whiskey of the Calgary Flames. Shane and I are coming to you after a pretty eventful week in the world of the Calgary Flames.
Do you remember what I asked for at the end of the last podcast? What I was hoping for out of these 3 games?
I think you're hoping for high fives and good times.
I was hoping for one win. And then these buggers, they go out and they give me 3 fantastic games and 6 points. I'm just thrilled, Pike. I'm thrilled.
In aviation, my friend, I have friends who are pilots, and the phrase they use is any landing you can walk away from. I would say that these were, we'll get into the nitty gritty of it momentarily, but broadly speaking, the Flames had a 5-3 victory on Thursday over the defending Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. They followed that up with going up north to the QE to Rogers Place in Edmonton they had a 4-3 victory over the Edmonton Oilers, the runners up in the conference last year. They beat Edmonton, they beat Calgary, but they lost to Colorado in 8 days wasted in the 3rd round. And then on Tuesday, the Flames hosted the Vegas Golden Knights, a team that came into the game undefeated with a 3-0 record. And the Flames had a comeback and they won 3-2. So the Flames have 3 regulation wins and 3 outings. And they're the kind of games, Shane, that I think when you're looking back at the end of the season, you could, we talk about the concept of productive losses, where you're like, well, you lost, but you learned something. You know what's better than productive losses for a hockey club, especially
productive wins?
Yeah, especially in, we're anticipating that the Pacific Division is going to be really jam-packed when it comes down to it. The Flames really want to finish in the divisional playoff spot because that way, the secret here, kids, is they really would like to avoid playing Colorado. And if I were running a hockey club, I would
avoid playing.
Yeah, Colorado. If Shane and I were in charge of a hockey team, you know what we'd tell them to do? Avoid playing Colorado in the playoffs.
Win now.
Well, shockingly, when the last time the Flames played Colorado in the playoffs, there was the gentleman's sweep. So I don't blame them for avoiding them.
That was the birth of Cale Makar into the NHL. I should probably use a different phrase than that, but that was his
introduction.
That was his introduction. He
came in.
He showed up in game. He didn't lose against Calgary either because he didn't play in the first game.
Yeah, he missed the first game. Showed up from UMass, and
they kicked the Flames' ass.
Cale Makar came in as a fully formed boy and was fantastic in that playoff series. And Colorado deserved to win that series. But the 3 productive wins for the Flames in that they were imperfect, but I think they learned something in every game and they won in different ways. And, if you look at it, both goalies got into it and got wins. 8 of the 18 skaters, I think they had something like 14 or 15 of them with points. A lot of them, the power play played reasonably well. The PK, had a goal allowed in each of the first 2 games. And then against Vegas, they were very sharp. There's a lot of positives to bring.
The Vegas game specifically, Colorado was coming in on a night, like it was a scheduled win, I know you've used that phrase before. They played in Colorado, I think, the night before, and they got into Calgary at like 2 or 3 in the morning. And
I think
it was Calgary's home opener.
I think on FlightAware, the flight tracker said they landed at like 2:25 a.m. They didn't. So, if you've ever driven from the airport to downtown, even late at night, you're not getting into your bed until like 3:30
on a charter bus, no less, trying to get through downtown. I mean, it'd be vacant at 2.
There's no traffic, but like you're not getting, like, that is not conducive to success.
So they do that. They come out against the champs. They do it and they play strong. Kadri, Dubé, Mangiapane is unreal in game 1. Just out of the lunch, like out crazy. It's hard to describe. And then you go up to Edmonton. And we talked on the pod about Vladar playing that game. Turns out he does play that game. He's going to want to play a game a week according to the coach.
Let's get into that, because I went up to Edmonton. I got into town a little bit. I think I got my ride.
Your first ever game.
My ride dropped me off. I took the Red Arrow cheap plug, just a fantastic service. I love you, Red Arrow, because they have Wi-Fi and you just don't have, you just turn your brain off and just you don't have to worry about anything. Highly, if you're like me and just don't love highway driving and you're like, screw it, I just want to go there, but I don't want to have to worry about anything, and like flying is too expensive and too much of a pain in the ass, the Red Arrow is for you. So I'm on the Red Arrow, and the Red Arrow drops off downtown in Edmonton, about 4 blocks south of Rogers Place. So I get my bus is scheduled to drop me off at like, I think the morning skate starts 11:30. My bus scheduled drop off is 11:40, and they pretty much clocked in right on time. So my buddy, our friend Julie McKenzie from the Athletic, and I are texting, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm on schedule, but I just want to make sure that when I get in there, I'm not going to like to the ice when they're off the ice. Should I go to the room? Like Julian's nice enough to direct traffic for me, so I know what the frig I'm doing. So I'm watching Twitter as the bus is winding through downtown Edmonton, and everyone at once, because this is how hockey Twitter works, everyone at morning skate goes, Dan Vildar's in net, Dan Vildar's in net, Dan Vildar's in net, Dan Vildar's in net. And then Patty, of course, comes out with his tweet of, all reports are from Edmonton that Dan Vildar is in the starters net. And the thought process I go through is this. I went through like the stages of grief, so to speak, in that I was like, that's weird. And the more I thought about it, the more I went, it's really not that weird. Because he was
road game,
and it's the only road game, and a backup. We saw the Flames do this with David Riddick too, where they played Big Save Dave on the road, especially that first season when Riddick came in and replaced Eddie Lack. The way the Flames and Jordan Siglet's he's the director of goaltending. He was the main goaltending coach for a while, and I think Siglet and Sutter and Jason LaBarbera are very much of the same mindset in terms of how they try to manage goaltender usage. And traditionally the backup goes into road games, and especially the second half of back-to-backs. So the Flames don't have any back-to-backs until like mid-November, late November. So where are you going to put in Vladar? The answer from Daryl Sutter is once a week. And the most logical place to put him in, if you're going to do once a week, is Edmonton. And I know, the folks who run the Oilers Nation Twitter account are going like, oh no, they're hiding.
Oh, Markstrom's scared. Oh no,
Markstrom played sick in the home opener. He really wanted to play the first game. He was dealing with a bug. Apparently there's a bug going around the team, but definitely there was a bug that got Markstrom. So he missed a day. He almost definitely wasn't at 100% when he came in and played the first game, but he battled through and they got a win.
I heard a rumor, and you might have heard more in the room, or because now you're back allowed in the room and stuff, that Markstrom had a choice to play either the home opener or against Edmonton.
That's what Daryl Sutter said. Daryl Sutter flat out told us in Edmonton that he was asked post game about using Vladar in Edmonton or whatever, and his answer was essentially, well, Markstrom wanted to play against Colorado. And so they went, okay, if you're playing Colorado, we're playing Vladar against Edmonton. And Markstrom's like, all right. And so that's how they split it. And, they're going to be dividing up. But the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, that's a good move, because you're getting, and if anything, it's a vote of confidence for Dan Vladar.
He had a great camp and deserves it too. And
he was pretty good. He was pretty good in Edmonton. If you look back at the 3 goals he gave up, none of them are really goals. You're like one of the goals, like the
Evander Kane McDavid goal on the power play was insane.
The Cody Ceci goal from the shot that beats him glove side. That's the only one where you're like, that would have been a really impressive save. So when he doesn't make that save, I don't think you crap on a guy for not making a very impressive save, because it was a good shot. The Flames were a little bit discombobulated in their own end, but. Yeah, and then so they had
and then they beat the crap out of Edmonton. They played a very good game against the Oilers.
They had
well structured and well played.
I would say the Colorado game was the Flames outplaying Colorado for the better part of the first half of the game, maybe 35 minutes, and then holding on.
It was a literal split. I do on the Beyond the Box score. I track it all, right? And it was hilarious. It was like all Calgary until the halfway point, and then it just went all Colorado. And so I was kind of like, they hung on to that one. That's more or less what the stats the game flow charts show anyways. But
and then they had that game against Edmonton where the Flames ran their show in the first, were not quite as good in the second, then ran their show in the third. And they deserved the win. Like, you wish, it'd be nice if they played a full 60. Guys after the game were saying,
stuff to work on.
Heroic Michael Stone was saying, would have been, they need to play full 60 and stuff. Michael Stone is cracking me up though. He's basically every freaking scrum and presser with him is him cracking jokes. He's relaxed. Like,
he's happy.
He's having the time of his life. It's Michael Stone just seems like good people. I'm glad he's enjoying himself. The game
they get to play his brother.
Yeah.
On Tuesday.
I believe it's the 10th time that the brothers Stone have faced off in the National Hockey League. Right now, Michael Stone has won 4 games of the 10. Mark Stone has won 6 of the 10. Michael Stone was good. Mark Stone was okay. And the Flame, it was one of those games where I think the Flames didn't have a great first, but then they were really good in the second and really good in the third.
I like how you described the Oilers. They ran their show in the first and the third, and they let off in the second. I don't feel they really let off completely in any of the 3 periods against Vegas. The second period,
I would say this. So the first period, like I wouldn't, if you look at the way the first period unfolded, like, it looked like a Flames game in that everyone was where they were supposed to be all the time. But they kept losing little battles here and there. And they got, there was just, the 2 goals that got past, the tip in goal by Howden. That's just a good tip. That's he needs to be maybe you want to tie him up, guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I asked Daryl Sutter about post game on Tuesday night about the first goal, about whether or not he thought the shot ramped up off 10 stick or what. He said he hadn't looked at it. I'm going to take his word for it. It's hard to tell from the replays whether or not it ramped, because it's one of those ones that sort of changes levels, kind of. But if you're a goalie and you're squaring up, I've never played the position, so I don't know exactly what that does. Yeah. It changes your field. It changes your depth a bit. But we'll have to either way, it's
DFO's Mike McKenna about that, because he's about the only one we know here.
Exactly. But either way, I think the first period the Flames played fine. They weren't bad, but they weren't especially good. The second period, they started hitting, they beat guys to pucks. If you look back, they drew 6 minor penalties in that period. All of those minor penalties were from moving their feet, holding on to the puck, using possession, using their speed. It's Blake Coleman getting popped in the face because they were frustrating Vegas with puck possession. Brett Ritchie getting tripped and cross-checked and then tripped again
down, and just
even Rooney in the neutral zone. The Rooney's penalty he drew in the neutral zone was Rooney was just trying to battle through guys to get to a loose puck in the offensive zone, and they need to haul him down, otherwise he'd have a free pass to the net. Like, those are
3 of those guys. All of the penalties that whole fourth line drew were just sheer hard work. They wanted the puck more. They used their body to get in position to make sure they had the puck more, and they forced Vegas to take holdings, hookings, whatever they needed to do to stop them, because otherwise they were just on an absolute mission to crash the creek.
And when you give a good
perfect game from them.
I don't think the Flames power play is what it can be or what it's going to be. But I also think that more. Jesus, like and even Jonathan Huberdeau post game told us in the locker room, he thinks the power play has more to give. I think everyone would agree that more to give. I'll say this: they scored twice, so I'm not going to crap on the power play too much. I would describe them as workmanlike. It wasn't a power play that made you have glimpses of the Harlem Globetrotters or the McDavid era Edmonton Oilers in terms of power play prowess, but it was competent, and they got enough cracks at it that they were able to score a couple goals, and they were weird goals, admittedly. They were still critical.
I'm so critical of the power play. I'm so critical of it, but I think Nazem Kadri is one of the best bumper players in the NHL in the power play. And then against Vegas, he was on the half wall, and Toffoli was on the bumper, and they still get 2 power play goals. And so I'm like, I still, in my mind, I don't care. Like, the results happened, but I watch and I'm like, I still want Kadri there. Kadri in the middle. He can get the pass. It's either a quick shot. He knows how to direct it back over to Huberdeau. He knows how to direct it back to Anderson. Huberdeau was making unreal passes. Everyone was funny, like, oh, he's just 360 no scoping. But I'm like, it's not a no scope if the pass is directly on the guy's tape. All 4 times he did it. It was tape to tape.
Just found ways to find Rasmus Anderson's tape.
There was one, he went around the guy, toe dragged, came back, came left, and then there was 3 guys on him, and he just dropped it like it was on an absolute like off a cliff right to Anderson's stick. And then there's 3 guys around Huberdeau, and Anderson's wide open to feed the open guy on the far side to set up. And it's just like, that was all Huberdeau. I just want to, since I'm mentioning him, I was super impressed with him against Vegas. He got way more physical and way more engaged on the boards. And it was the best he's ever, of the 3 games so far that I've seen him in the Flames.
You can tell him he's getting more and more
comfortable. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And and when he is finally comfortable, like they've already got that second line can go up against second line. Like I don't honestly, they've been the best line so far of Kadri, Mangiapane, and Dubé can go up against literally any line in the entire league. They will match up just fine against the McDavid line. They could go to Toronto, face the Matthews line. They could literally play anyone. Then you add in the fact that we also have a line with Huberdeau and Lindholm that's not even clicking yet.
And that's the thing that's fascinating to me.
So dangerous.
So when people talk about depth, this is what we're talking about. So I don't think it's unfair to say that the Toffoli, Lindholm, Huberdeau line, they have not been cooking yet. They have been fine.
They've been okay. They haven't
been bad. They have. I think they have more to give. I don't think it's unfair to say that. But the fourth line is doing very well. The backline line is consistently making a difference and making key plays. They scored a goal against Edmonton. They scored the game-winning goal against Vegas. They were consistently good, occasionally very good. And you have the Kadri line, which is doing things that the Kadri line you would hope they would do. So they got 3 out of 4 lines performing fairly well to very well. And then they have a first line that's working on it. And 3 games in,
against Vegas. So
3 games in with as many new faces as they have, I think you have to look at the Flames' progress 3 games in on the whole. You have the 3 defensive pairings that appear to be working. The 2 goaltenders, Markstrom's a work in progress. I think Markstrom would probably admit as much. He probably doesn't love how he's played. Granted, I don't think he was at 100% against Colorado, so I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. And the goals he gave up against Vegas were kind of weird.
But he made the same.
Daryl's
period.
Wes Gilbertson of Post Media asked Daryl about that after Tuesday's game, and it was a follow up question to a question I asked about the goals, and his reply to Wes was he made the saves he had to make. So yeah, like he kept it 2-0 and kept it 2-2, and then held them in when they needed to score.
The one iffy goal, and then you shut the door, or then you really shut the door. One point I want to bring up, and it's going to sound like a shot at Sean Monahan. It is not.
You mean scoring Sean Monahan?
I appreciate it, but having a 4th line center that is not injured and can actually skate properly up and down the center ice has looked fantastic for the Flames so far. Lucic and Lewis, the tail end of the other year after Monahan got put on injured reserve, were taking the faceoffs, and they were cycling Richie there and things like that. But having Rooney there, able to consistently play the center position, play it right, and be able to move up the ice without struggling is helping.
Pat and I have been talking about the 4th line quite a bit on Flames Talk on Sportsnet 960 the last the last week or so. We've been talking, especially I think Pat and I pretty much the day after the last 3 games have been talking about how well the 4th line has been done. And he mentioned something on Wednesday's show that really stuck with me. The speed that Kevin Rooney brings to that group, because the penalty he drew the speed. And I think the nice thing is, you have the brute force of Milan Lucic. Bless his heart, he's a blunt instrument at this point, but he knows it, and he's a very good blunt instrument. You have the tenacity of Brett Ritchie. He's a very straight line player, but that's all they need him to be. But the thing is, Rooney is good enough at a lot of things. I would say Kevin Rooney is again, this will sound like an insult, and it's not meant as one.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, but it's
he doesn't need to be a master of anything because he just sort of fills in the gaps between the other guys. And he does it with his speed and his smarts. And they've turned in very quickly into a really effective unit. I feel bad.
yeah.
I'll say this. I bumped. I saw leaving the press box on Saturday night on the way down to the media lounge. We bumped into Connor Mackey and Adam Ruzicka. I feel a little bit bad for those guys because there's no back-to-backs. So it's hard to rotate those guys in. The schedule's spaced out enough that even if guys have bumps or bruises, you can keep your optimal lineup in. And I think they do have their optimal lineup in right now. And like, devil's advocate. Let's say I'm Brad Treliving and I go to you and you're running the bench, Shane, and I go, where do you want to fit in Ruzicka and Mackey?
No one's hurt and no one's lost yet. So how about we just leave it alone?
Yeah, like I feel bad for the guys. Granted, they're getting NHL money, so I'm not going to be crying for them too much. But if you kind of feel bad, imagine if you made an NHL team and they're an undefeated team a week into the season. You're like, great. How many games did you play? And you go, I haven't played yet because everyone's playing really well and there's not really a need for me yet.
And I think that's really an emphasis we should probably put out there is it's 3 games out of 82 in. There's 79 to go.
Blake Coleman, Blake Coleman, he was asked after Tuesday's game about, how meaningful is this? And, can this, this is the kind of stuff that we need to ask about 3 games in because is hey guy who's won 2 Stanley Cups in the last 3 years, is it meaningful having this kind of success 3 games in, winning different ways, whatever? And he's like, he sort of chuckled a little bit and like, it's 3 games. Like, it's a good start.
There's a long way to go. You put the 2 divisional games in the bank. That's absolutely awesome. The board still says 164 points left, like is achievable. The board hasn't been touched in a week and you move on. It's been a great week, but now they've got Buffalo here Thursday night. They've got a real test, probably
the Saturday night. Okay, people,
Carolina.
So one of the common things that we've seen from prognosticators is saying the Calgary Flames could make the Stanley Cup final, and it's conceivable they could do that because they're a good team. But I'll say this. They have built a hell of a hockey club in Carolina.
They have built a hell of a hockey club and culture in Carolina.
For Saturday night's game, 8 p.m. start, Hockey Night in Canada, if you have friends who are kind of iffy on it, like, it's Carolina. It's not Edmonton this Saturday night. It's not, it's Edmonton's coming out at the end of the month on a Saturday night. If you have the means to somehow acquire tickets for the Saturday night game against Carolina, highly recommend that you do it because holy cow, that's a freaking good hockey club.
I'm super impressed with how in 3 years they went from Hamilton to D'Angelo to Burns. Like they have a recipe for how they build their roster and they have the spot for a right-hand shot offensive defenseman. And they've cycled 3 people in and so far it's worked. Again, analysis for the entire league right now is it's 3-4 games in, like let's come. But the Carolina Hurricanes have been a pinnacle, deep playoff team for multiple seasons now. Rod Brind'Amour is one of the best coaches in the entire league. He preaches hard work and tenacity on the puck.
Practices what he preaches too.
And tenacity on the puck.
And in terms of just smart people and smart places, Eric Tulsky is flat out one of the smartest guys in hockey. And like Carolina's front office has given Tulsky and his stats crew the ability to impact decisions. And if you're looking for a better living through science kind of way of building a hockey club, Carolina is the prototype. They're one of a few, and they're not the only team using analytics to inform decisions, but they've done it really well. And Tulsky is in a very prominent position.
It helps that they've drafted so well. Getting set like Seth Jarvis was, it was 2 drafts ago, but I was all over that. I'm like, Seth Jarvis is unreal. Someone drafts Seth Jarvis. Who gets him? Carolina. Always Carolina. Marty Neckash, almost 2 years in, right in. Like Sebastian Aho, second round, 2 years in producing. Like they found ways to use their
They got the rights of Sebastian Aho. That's the important thing.
Yeah, they didn't take the D-man from the Islanders. They let Lou have well before Lou's time. It was Garth's time. And then the last game, and this is always fun, is Sidney Crosby comes to town. He's a legend. Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain. Regardless of how the game could go, it should be a decent test. The Penguins are pretty strong up the middle, and definitely they improved their back end. But it's just Crosby's in town kind of thing. For local Calgarians, he's been one of their favorite players of a lot of people for a long time.
He's just really fun to watch.
He's captain. Like I know they called Tays Captain Canada, but he's the prototypical Canadian guy. He has been since he won the cup and put the gold medal around his neck in 2010. Like it's his. The hockey world is still his for a lot of the elder millennials, and it's always a good time to have Sidney Crosby.
There's a few of us who are at a certain age, when Crosby got drafted coming out of the lockout, and like let's be honest, folks, it's super common for draft people, draft wonks. Shane and I are self-abashed draft wonks to pump a friggin' kid's tires for years and then be like, oh, he's not that good after he gets drafted. Like it's natural. Like it's a lot of prospect journalism is kind of talking about possibilities. We don't mean to hype guys up too much. It's just, it's exciting to have these kind of talented kids come up. And I'll say this, McDavid has been full marks, regardless of where he has ended up playing. Crosby, though,
he checked every box imaginable that you could ever hope to have.
Crosby,
and he's still there.
He was dropped into
discount salaries.
He was dropped into Pittsburgh when Pittsburgh was not good, and then
got to live with Mario.
Not only have the Penguins gave him the ability to flourish, but they surround him with good people and good players, and everyone's been rewarded. Crosby got his cups. Pittsburgh got their cups. Like it's
gotta mention Malkin.
It's the kind of situation that seems like a match made in heaven in retrospect. But I mean, it's just a good setup. And so if you have the ability to see the Saturday game or the Tuesday game,
those will be good hockey games.
I'd say do it.
Good hockey games. You might see a Flames loss. Like that's very possible. I know they're 3-0. God forbid.
They're not going to go 82-0. They're going to lose eventually, and they're probably going to lose to a good team at some point.
All right. Daryl gave us a good game to play, though. Which game does Vladar start this week?
I'd say Buffalo.
I also was thinking Buffalo.
I think they go. I broke this down on the site earlier this week. I think they go Buffalo, and then Markstrom gets the next two.
But then he's not playing a full week, right? Like he said once a week. So I think they might go Vladar Markstrom, like split. I think
2 games. I think they might go back to Vladar for the Edmonton game.
He did win, so that's not against that.
Vladar played 2 of the 3 games against Colorado last year, and Colorado didn't see Markstrom till the last game they played of the season against Calgary.
So yeah,
the third game of the season series. By that I mean,
but by my estimates, Vladar and Markstrom should each end the month based on the new policy with 3 games under their belt each, which is a good thing, folks. Like Markstrom not being worked off his horse is a fantastic thing, and I'm really looking forward to it.
And especially with the way that Vladar was playing before and has been playing, so I'm pretty curious to see how that ends up going. Shane, we have a new segment and a new partner. We're really excited at the network to say that we're partnering with Betway as our betting. I forget the official term we have, but our betting partner. And Shane,
our official someone who's fantasy hockey partner.
Yeah, so they're our fantasy hockey partner. So Shane is someone who, before we even had the partnership with Betway, he was in my ear being like, we should talk about bets on the show. I'm like, well, yeah, how do you want to do it? So Shane, I'm a PHWA member, so I refrain from betting on hockey, both because we're encouraged to not bet on hockey, but also because when I gambled on sports in other sports, I was very bad at outside of a little bit of success betting on UFC when I'm in Vegas. it's basically a donation to the state of Nevada at this point for me. So you know a
Yeah.
lot more about this space than I do.
I've been actually using Betway for about 4 years now. So when we got word that Betway is a new sponsor, I was pumped because I've already been using their app, very familiar with it, and can talk more in depth about the types of bets. If you've been following along my Twitter page at @flash_33, I've been posting game day cash with flash betting threads where I actually use advanced stats to dive into what I call informed betting. So, for instance, I looked after the first game. The problem with doing it for the first game is there's no sample size. You're starting straight fresh.
And even early in the season, there's a lot of variability in hockey, which is why I think some folks are a little bit nervous about diving in too much.
And then add into all of the changes that happen to the specific Calgary Flames team, and picking something that's reliable to start is a little because I'm recommending what my bets are to people, and I trust it. I bet on my bets. I hit my Robert Thomas assist tonight. Booyah. But so after the Colorado game, I was like, okay, well, let's look at who's the hottest line and statistically, and then let's look at how the Oilers defend. And both nights there's been plus 100, 115-ish odds. Those are called American odds, folks. So if you bet $100, you win 115. So that would be 100 and pays you out 215 back. So if you bet $5, you win something like 1150. Like the $100 is thing. I preach betting responsibly. Let's just it's
an expression of the ratio, not a recommendation of amounts.
Yes. So the safest thing to me, based on the preseason and everything, was Nazem Kadri was rolling. That line was unreal. Yeah, and the fact that he had 57 assists the year before. Well, it was plus 115 to get an assist both in Edmonton and Vegas. So I recommended that, and both hit. So follow along with us. We're going to be doing this regularly. We're going to talk a little bit on it on every show. We're going to have a little bit of a betting segment talk, promoting Betway and the odds. And we're also going to start doing articles on FlamesNation.ca on the game days to promote our daily. It's going to be me, and I might gather sources. I know Audie is huge into the bets. Audie likes his parlays though, and I'm not a parlay guy.
Parlays. So Shane, you're talking French to me now. Okay. So a regular bet is say if I'm like, I think the Flames are going to win, you can do the regular bet. You can also do stuff like money line. You can do walk me through. There's a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of people, when they hear about the betting options, they're like, one, they're afraid of going broke responsibly. Two, there's just a lot of stuff. It seems like there's a lot of stuff to digest, and it seems a little intimidating.
There's a lot of different ways to do it. So money line is you're betting on the outright winner. So when you bet the money line, you're just betting on who the outright winner is. When you see the odds of positive, well, they're not favored. If you see someone with like a negative 100 odds to win, that is the team that they think is going to win, because you're not going to get a double payout. You're going to get less than, you bet $5, your return is going to be $850. So you win $350, kind of something like that. So that's money line. And then I know a lot of, betting the spread is a lot easier in football because there's more points scored. But in hockey, they call it, especially on Betway, they call it puck line. And you're betting on how many goals that team is going to win by. So if you're betting Calgary Flames puck line at -1.5, that if I pull this up here, for right now, the Sabres are at -118. So that means they think the Sabres are going to keep it within a one goal game. That's what they're saying. Calgary's up -106 actually. So that would no, Buffalo's farther into the negative. So they're kind of saying that it's going to be a one goal game. That's what the odds makers are saying. If it's puck line -2.5, it's actually plus 175 in favor of the Flames. For that bet to hit, you would have to, if the puck line's 2.5, well, then Calgary needs to win by 3 to cover the spread. So basically you give those goals to the losing team, the team you think is going to lose, and you have to beat the spread. So that's more complicated.
So I know there's player props. You can sort of bet on players do certain things. So correct me if I'm wrong. Player props are basically like, oh, I think Jonathan Huber is going to get an assist. You can bet that player prop. Yeah. And then parlays are basically, if you're stringing multiple bets together and they have a multiplier, right?
Yeah, and they do have a multiplier. The Betway app, you can add it to a bet slip. So you can choose multiple things. So you could choose Jonathan Huberdeau to score, Calgary Flames to win by 2, and over under shots on goals. If it's set at 62.5, you go over 62 shots in the game. If all 3 hit, you get compounded payouts.
But if any of the one don't happen,
you lose.
Done.
So like that's I saw a TikTok the other day, and the girl was complimenting her boyfriend, and she's like, he's mentioning, well, if my 14 team parlay hits this Sunday, we're gonna go to Cabo, and she's like, yeah, 14 random things have to occur together in order for it to hit. Now you do get larger payouts with parlays, but for me personally, my recommendation is just single bets, folks. And I bet $2 to $5 on a game period myself. Not a big money better. I'm more or less, I like to just keep it going and see.
You're working for a living.
We'll see. I'm a student. If I had a day job, I'd probably invest a little more. But yeah, and there's all sorts of things. You can anytime goal scorers, you can bet on first goal scorers. And what we're going to do here at the site, specifically me with my advanced statistics and all my subscriptions, I'm going to help inform the bettors. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking of getting in, download the Betway app. We probably going to get codes at some point. And I know they give you a lot of what's called free money. You put $20 in, they give you $20 in free plays. And that's another thing Betway does. And you can just get into it. And like I said, you don't have to be betting $100 at a time, folks. You can do it marginally, and just, it's nice. You're trying to predict when you get it right. It's a nice feeling. And
yeah, it's
cash.
I'll say this as a disclaimer. It's meant to be fun, and it's meant to be an entertainment product. Yeah. So do not bet the house. Do not bet your kids' savings. Do not, don't bet any more than you're willing to lose and willing to live with losing. But yeah, it's meant to be fun. So I think Shane and I will we'll toy around with different things in the podcast. At some point we might do, if any of you ever have like just questions about how stuff works, Shane knows this stuff. So, you can tweet at Shane
or the FlamesNation account as well, folks.
Yeah. If there's any common questions we get, we can talk about them in this space. Cause
I know our new colleague over at Barn Burner with the goofy Mike Smith hair. I know he likes to dabble in this stuff too. So
he's a beautiful man. I saw him.
We could ask Pinder. I know Pinder on I started the season. I just posted the odds because like I said, there wasn't any depth. And Pinder's like, well, what about the value? And then he come in with Dom L from the Athletics predictions and showed the value. So Pinder knows exactly what he's doing. By all means, take his advice as well. So there's a lot of people here at our growing network of nation sites, something like that, that can all help and inform you guys. So ask away. We're here to help, and it's a new sponsor for us, and we're fun. We're ready for the ride.
We're excited. We're excited for the partnership. Please have fun and please bet responsibly.
Please.
With that, it's other newsy things this week. The City and the Flames are talking again.
Ooh, this is your jam. This is all you.
So since the arena deal that was signed in 2019 collapsed in itself like a dying star for various obvious reasons, which was the pandemic made everything much more expensive. And under the old deal, the Flames would have been on the hook for any and all cost overruns above the city's $287.5 million contribution. And I don't know about you. I do not have an extra 100 mil, 150 mil, 200 mil, whatever kicking around. Most people don't, even the super wealthy, especially if we're going to be completely honest, Murray Edwards' core business is not a hockey team. I can kind of understand not wanting to sink a lot of money into his side hustle. That being said, people got to pay for their stuff. But so the city, after the thing imploded, they reaffirmed their willingness and their desire to have a new arena in the Victoria Park area as part of their cultural and entertainment district. If you've been down to Stampede Park over the last few months, you'll have noticed, one, holy crap, it's a construction zone. Two, there's a lot of shit happening around there. So on the north end of Stampede Park, they're currently doing utility work for the Green Line. The idea is they're moving some utilities so that they have a space to build a friggin' train. That's being done right now. That'll be done by the end of October. The BMO Center currently is that beautiful lattice work of steel and stuff that's gradually getting filled in. I think they're trying to have it boxed, we're fully enclosed by the time it gets cold and friggin' chilly, so they can do the internal work, like all the fancy crap they have to do inside of it. But in terms of the steel work and in terms of like the lattice work, it's a friggin' impressive building. That thing's gonna be cool when it's done.
Humongous big.
So to the side of that, they're also doing, if you've been in there, a lot of road work to redo the roadways. And on the west side of Stampede Park and the McLeod Trail side, they're putting 17th Avenue through, like straight through. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the old layout, on where the Roundup Center is on the west side of Stampede Park, closest to McLeod Trail, they had a big ugly fence. And I think the idea was they wanted to have like a log cabin architecture thing where it's like a bunch of like wooden posts. And so it basically cordoned off Stampede Park and that side from like the world. And shockingly, that didn't lead to a lot of vibrancy in the area. And so the city and the Stampede were like, let's open this friggin' thing up. So the LRT station, which used to be access through like a series of weird stairs and tunnels and crap, it's at ground level now.
All gone.
It's all gone. It's at ground level now. 17th Avenue, instead of you walking across the street to a friggin' fence and then having to go up some stairs and across and down stairs, 17th Avenue is going straight through. It's almost done. And they're building the BMO Center. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and a lot of that stuff is municipally funded. And the idea is they want to make Stampede Park a cool place with cool shit. And so part of that is they want to have the arena there because it just makes the most sense for it to be where all the other cool stuff is. So they've been working with a committee to try to get the Flames back to the table. It has worked because now officially the Flames are back at the table. They had a deal that worked for both sides before the pandemic. They have a design that they paid for that the Flames own from HOK. So
there's a new group now, though, isn't there?
No, CAA Icon is a branch of the CAA talent agency that negotiates these kind of things or works as an intermediary to put together complex financing deals like these for sports facilities. So they've been retained by the city to be their negotiator. So they'll be negotiating with the Flames on behalf of the city. If you want to be optimistic, I don't think optimism is unfounded because they very recently had a deal that both sides liked, and then the only thing that really blew it up was everything suddenly costing billions of dollars or millions of dollars more because of a worldwide once in 100-year pandemic. And so, I think if you sit down and, both sides have said publicly and behind closed doors that they would like to build an arena together if the money works. And so they're going to figure out if the money works. So this is a developing story. We'll have obviously more of this in the coming weeks, months, and years until this damn thing gets built.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I think the public will want to know.
The answer is no.
First and foremost, is there a time limit on this new set of negotiations? No. So there you go, folks. Like it's ongoing. There's no set.
I would think when the city and I think the Mayor Gondik released a statement earlier on Wednesday, basically said that both the city and the Calgary Sports and Entertainment Corp have agreed that, quote, time is of the essence, as in they're not going to be dicking around. They're going to be trying to get down to brass tacks. Part of it is that I think they missed the entire 2022 construction season. I think they would love to get something done during the 2023 construction season. Does that mean that both sides will agree to a dog shit deal to get it shovels in the ground in the construction season? No, because if they wanted to agree to a bad deal, they would have stuck with the old deal. So they're not going to be throwing caution to the wind just to get stuff done. But I think, if you're familiar with how Calgary construction works, do you know why the friggin' utility stuff is happening now? By the casino and didn't happen over the summer? Because in Calgary, you don't start construction projects around Stampede Park during the Stampede.
That makes more sense than I could ever.
I would suggest that if you're aiming for something, the city, I think they would love to have the ability to do something after the Stampede and then get things going then. Does that mean they're going to? I don't know. At this point, we're just guessing.
And like I said, it's been primed, and like they were ready. They were almost ready to put shovels in the ground.
They were ready to put shovels in the ground.
Almost.
The utility work was all done. A lot of the prep work was all done. They basically had it shovel ready. They needed to basically approve a main construction budget, and then they had contractors lined up and stuff. They had everything was ready to go, and then they just balked at the budget number.
And then just the prices kept inflating, and like you said,
they didn't
not
actually,
his main hustle. Like
they didn't have at the time of the fall apart at the end of December 21. They didn't have a finalized construction budget. So if you're the Flames and you're on the hook for construction overruns, and they don't have a final number for you, like if you're building anything, like you want to be like, okay, so what's the final number before I say yes? What's the final number? And they didn't have a final number. They would not have a final number for 6 more months, and they could not give a guarantee what the final number would be outside of it'll be between this and this. And if you're doing, in any business, I'd be uncomfortable with that too. So yeah, there's no specific timeline on it. I would suggest that they probably would love to get something done in time for the 23 construction season, but the clock's ticking. The clock's ticking.
If you have any arena questions, folks, I urge you to find Ryan on Twitter. Don't DM him, but just ask him a question on his timeline.
Yeah, stay out of my DMs.
Personally, I think Ryan is the most informed on this thing. That's not biased. That's just honest.
Pat and I have a few fun things in the works for Flames Talk as this thing progresses. We had I encourage you guys to seek out Wednesday's episode of Flames Talk. I'm co-hosting hour 2 most of the season with Pat. We had a really good chat in hour 2 about a lot of different things going on about the arena. So, and we have some other fun stuff in the works when this thing gets further down the line. So it'll be really fun. So yeah, it's a step in the right direction. It's not done yet. It won't be done for a while.
Ongoing, but I mean, it's good news to hear the mayor say that she wants to get back and working on this. Calgary's obviously back to the table, forefront of the discussions. The money, I believe, is still there. So
they haven't spent the money they had earmarked for it. If they had earmarked it for something else, it would have been a big story. They haven't spent it yet. They haven't earmarked it for anything but this.
I mean, they could start charging $55 for burger combos like Rogers. They'd afford stuff a lot faster, but I mean, we're not crooks down here in Alberta. But like before we jet, how about we do predictions for this week? What do you think? All right. Is going to happen?
Flames got 3 games, as noted. Flames play Thursday night at home against Buffalo. That feels like another Flames win.
I feel like they're going to win that one. I feel like this is going to be a bigger win. My personal thing is a bigger win than normal.
I think that the toughest game is going to be that Saturday night game against Carolina, because Carolina matches up so well against the Flames. The way the Flames play is really similar to how Carolina plays. They have speed, they have structure, they have tenacity, they have a damn good coach. They have, depth everywhere. Even on the road, I think Carolina, when Carolina's on the road and the Flames are at home, I still think Carolina's a tough out. So I think if you were someone thinking the Flames got to lose eventually, right? You're correct. They will lose eventually. I think of the 3 games they have coming up, the toughest matchup for them stylistically and depth-wise would be Carolina. So that's I think that might be the one they get.
I agree with you on that. I think Carolina is going to be their toughest test to date. Now, that's saying something, because I am very high on Vegas, higher than a lot of other people out there. I think Vegas is unreal. I watched them play their first game of the season against LA and their comeback win, and they were very well structured. But Carolina's even better, and yeah, I think Calgary wins that one. Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada at home, big test. And then I think Sidney Crosby gets to him for the first loss of the season on Tuesday. Myself, I think Crosby and Malkin and Letang and company come into Calgary. They're unintimidated. They play their game, and they take Calgary to Calgary. Not to the cleaners. I don't think like anyone's going to throw. I don't think Calgary's going to lose too many games by more than 1 or 2 goals. But I feel like the boys are going to be up for the test on Saturday, and then there's always a natural kind of lull. What's a Tuesday? It's not a Saturday. It's at 7.
But if you're these guys and you're looking at the calendar, I think there's a lot of Canadian representation in that locker room, and I think they see, especially, and a lot of guys who spent time in the Eastern Conference, and I think they see Crosby and Malkin, and they get kind of amped up. So
Daryl Sutter quote of the week, by the way, is, "What do you think of the Vegas Golden Knights? I think they've got 13 players from Western Canada."
11.
11, sorry.
10 and Jake Lesession was the 11th.
That's my it just popped into my head. I had to say that's my Daryl Sutter quote of the week.
I really liked Daryl when he was asked after the home opener win, when he got his 700th career win. He was asked, I believe it was, again, Post Media's Wes Gilbertson always asks very good questions. Asked what, if there's any, I would paraphrasing the question, if it was anything meaningful about the 700th career win. And Daryl sort of smiles. He's like, "Yep, means I've coached 4 good teams."
Yeah, that's a good one too.
He's not wrong. Like, it's a statement of fact.
I mean, 700 wins. Like, we didn't even talk about that.
Top 10, baby.
Top 10. Add in the 2 cups amongst those that have 700 wins, and I think there's a nice shiny plaque waiting for Daryl when he finally retires.
Put together a very good Hall of Fame caliber resume.
I say he's got the plaque waiting for when he retires. I hope he doesn't retire anytime soon. Stay with us.
I think we're gonna see him for at least 3 more years.
Well, I know
this year and 2 more.
He got extended, so we just know it's definitely past this year. So, but yeah, I mean,
the funny thing about contracts is, you don't have to play them out. You don't have to play them out.
Especially coaching contracts. There's a lot of coaches probably. Was there 9 coaching changes last year? So there's about 9 guys getting paid sitting at home right now. So it's the way it works.
It's a weird business. It's a very weird business.
It's a quick business. You don't get too long. You don't get too much roadway to make your vision work. But Daryl's got these guys bought right in, and it was a great week of hockey to watch. It was very impressive. Yeah. And they've been a little bit clunky, but I think they're gonna refine the game over time. They're working every day to get better, and it just the product.
Shade. That's like the. I love you. That's some terrible analysis. There's no teams that are working to get worse outside of Arizona.
Hey, I just watched the Seattle Kraken play defense in the first period against the Blues, and I could tell you the way they're defending zone rushes, I could question whether they're trying to work on getting better every day. That was terrible.
I would as much as a lot of hockey journalism is public relations in various forms. Imagine if you're like
the John Madden quotes.
No, but imagine if you're like a player, a coach in like Chicago or Arizona or Seattle or a couple other teams, and you get asked like, "What's going on?" It's like, "Well, we're really thinking about Connor Bedard, you guys." They you walk into the locker room and there's this big framed photo of Connor Bedard with like lights going up,
like a shrine. Like, please,
the prayer candles and a big photo of Connor Bedard. I
just want him not in the Pacific. Okay, that's my thing. Like, we've got McDavid, we've got Eichel, we've got William Eklund coming in. He's unreal, and I really like him. But we've got Trevor Zegras down in Anaheim. We got Jamie Drysdale down in Anaheim. We've got lots of good stars.
We're at the.
Go away.
We're at the point of the season where everyone is trying to get better, but we're going to hit a part of the season where a lot of teams down in the lower third are going to start getting their Bedard dreams going, and all of a sudden people are going to start disappearing.
Could you imagine the disdain on Flames fans if he somehow ended up in Vancouver? Which, based on how they've played so far, again, 3 days in, but I'll take a shot at the Canucks.
We love our dear friends in Vancouver, our fine colleagues at Canucks Army, and hopefully Quads and Faber and our dear friends Wyatt the stanchion get to start seeing some wins, because I'll tell you this, Vancouver, such a great, like, they got great fans in Vancouver. It's a great city. Passionate fans, like really knowledgeable fans. Like, I think we're very fortunate in Western Canada with the quality of the fans we have. And sometimes the quality of the teams matches the quality of the fans, and sometimes it does not. And you always hope that the quality of the fan base is matched by the quality of the team.
They need to fix that defense, or they're on a one-way ticket not into a playoff spot. That's my Canucks analysis for today. That maybe if Quads wants more, he can call me.
FlamesNation Radio, brought to you, delivered to you every week by DoorDash, and also presented by Eau Claire Distillery, makers of Rupert's Whiskey, the official whiskey of the Calgary Flames. We are proud to be part of the Nation Network of podcasts. You can get all of our content very easily. Our recommendation to you is go to the Nation Network YouTube channel and subscribe. You will get notifications anytime there's something new or a live broadcast. We have many live broadcasts every single day, including Barn Burner with Boomer, Rhett Warner, and Ryan Pinder. It goes every day at 10:30 Mountain and then archived right away, so you can catch it as a podcast if you are not able, based on your day job or other things you have going on, to watch it.
Hit number one in Canada this week.
Number one for sports podcasts in Canada. Very fun. You can also catch us every single week. You can also catch our dear friends at the Shotdown in Flames podcast with a varying cast of characters, usually including Audie and other people. This week we had Shane was on a couple weeks ago. Robert,
Robert, and Audie a lot, and then we Noah sometimes, and they're working on getting more guests and stuff. So it's like you said, rotating cast of characters.
Yeah, and they are characters. It's a bit of more of a lighthearted, fan-focused jaunt at things. Here at Flames Nation Radio, we try to do deep dives into stuff. You'll get all kinds of nerdy, egg-headed analysis as only Shane and I can bring you. Yeah, and of course, Flames Nation Live a couple times a week with our dear friend Pat Steinberg. And yeah, all this stuff can be found at our Nation Network YouTube channel. If you are going, but Ryan, I'm not sure if I want to get dinged anytime something else comes on, you can always just go to the playlists and bookmark the Flames Nation playlist, and then check it every day. There's new content basically every day. Barn Burners every day. Everyone else is every week or a couple times a week. So there's never a shortage of content. Cheap plug. I'm also a regular co-host on Flames Talk with Pat Steinberg on 47960 The Fan. You can get that stuff also everywhere you get your podcast. So between
all of the content,
there's all kinds of content all the time. So Google is your friend. Podcatchers are your friend. Anywhere you need good podcast content, there's Flames audio for you. So thank you for your support. We're really excited about the season. It's early, but things are going well, and hopefully we have no shortage of things to talk about. I think that's a good place to cap it off. So for Shane, I'm Ryan. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll catch you guys next week for more Flames Nation Radio. Have a great week.